Hi everyone, the Gruffalo here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of having terrible tusks, terrible claws, and terrible teeth in my terrible jaws. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new King Buffalo album, Regenerator. So, I've often asked myself, what's in a name? A band name, that is. I've often thought a fair bit about the psychology and etymology behind the creation and choosing of a band name. It often creates an expectation behind what you'll be listening to. I mean, no one who picks up a Cannibal Corpse CD is going to expect gentle Swedish lullabies, for example. But it's so much more than just a name or just what to expect. It's an identity. It becomes who you are and who your bandmates are. It's what the crowds will be shouting. It's what the fans will be getting tattoos of. It's what your group will become legally known as a collective. With all that in mind, I found the name of today's review, King Buffalo, kind of weird. I had no real idea of what to expect from the music based on the name. And I find the combination of these words conjures up kind of an amusing image of an ungulate decked out in a crown and gown combo, lording over his loyal bovine subjects. Obviously. Or perhaps I've just been affected too much by the extraordinarily chill, soothing and spacey sounds of this really rather lovely, psychedelic, stoner, post-rock album. There's some words for you. On second thoughts, maybe the name King Buffalo is indicative of what I can expect from the music. Okay, enough of my wibbling. King Buffalo, yes, okay. Hailing from Rochester, New York, the band is a trio, uno dos tres, consisting of vocalist/guitarist Sean McVeigh, bassist Dan Reynolds, and drummer Scott Donaldson, and they are a self-described band of the heavy psych kind. But what the hell does that even mean? Well, from my experience with Regenerator, my first foray into the band, it means long, heavy, ethereal soundscapes, dreamy guitar solos and good riffing, with heavy grooving bass lines, great drums and some crooning vocals. All ingredients that when you put them together, make for a really fun and engaging album from start to finish. Okay, so I really enjoyed my time with Regenerator, and I felt I was able to make some really favourable comparisons to other bands, from what I heard. So I'd kind of equate this to Sleep meets Porcupine Tree meets Queens of the Stone Age kind of deal. It's a record that simultaneously chills your margaritas whilst you ride shotgun in your best buddy's soft-top convertible, and then it pulls out all the suspension on your dirt bike whilst you go hurtling across the rocky deserts of southwestern USA. This is a great mood setter of an album. This isn't so much bothered by massive dynamic shake-ups in sound as it is creating an atmosphere for you to get comfortable with. The album is nicely set up with the extended jam sessions bookending the album with opener title track Regenerator and closer Firmament. And then you've got some more standard rockers found nestled nicely in between these. It's a great structure, and it lulls you into the mood the band has created beautifully and sends you packing in a similar manner. I felt a special kind of relaxation during the first half of this record especially, and while Sean McVeigh's vocals are effortlessly easy to listen to, evoking a sort of a more laid-back Josh Homme, they certainly aren't the central focus of King Buffalo's sound, which instead I would say is more of a guitar and bass one, with an emphasis firmly on groove, atmosphere and mood, which they succeed at with Olympic-level finesse. The tracks sitting in the central portion of the album, as mentioned earlier, are much more traditional rock songs, but still carried by the band's signature chilled-out nature. Nothing feels rushed or hurried on Regenerator, and frankly it's nice to have a band that's happy to take their time and allow everything really to have its chance to breathe. I mean, this isn't to say that the band doesn't know how to really rock your socks off when they need to, because they do. Second song on the album, Mercury, drops in this really nasty, dirty sounding guitar riff amongst the cloud-like atmosphere and juicy bass work, and it really works well in grabbing your attention before we segue back to Dan Reynolds' frankly astonishingly great bass lines. I mean, there's nothing particularly technical or showy behind any of the musicianship on Regenerator, but I kind of like that, you know? King Buffalo are far more interested in writing concise, beautiful, and enrapturing songs than technical face melters, you know. So I want to just quickly go back to those favourable comparisons I made to other bands earlier in the review. The Queens of the Stone Age influence, for example, feels clear as day on hard-rocking tracks like Hours and Mammoth, with that familiar-sounding guitar tone, vocal cadence and delivery, and foot-tapping catchy melodies that carry the song so well. Feels like it's completely a page out of something like Songs for the Deaf, and it's great. But ultimately, that's what I like so much about this record. It's so accessible and familiar, like a big warm fuzzy blanket. It's difficult to not want to keep repeating on favourite tracks like Avalon, Hours, or Firmament, or frankly just spinning the entire thing from start to finish over and over. At a nicely paced 44 minutes in length, it's a very easy record to play back to back several times and never really feel bored for even a second of the runtime, as there's always something aurally pleasing or sonically exciting around every single riff or extended atmospheric passage. The album is nicely split in half, with 3 tracks preceding and 3 tracks following the aptly named song Interlude, and it's the second half of the album that really gets to me and sticks with me above the first half. 5th track, Mammoth, is, well, a mammoth-sized track. It's really great. The first of 2 in the 6-minute range. These have a bit more space to breathe than the earlier songs like Mercury and Hours, and the band really capitalises on this additional track length to fit in some of the, I suppose, spacier sounds and moods from the first and last tracks that fit in really, really well with the crunchy and punchy riffing to be found within. It's the vocal delivery and melodies in Mammoth, though, that I love so much. And my poor housemates, I've been singing this song in the shower for days now. It's got this great sense of confidence and swagger to it. You know, it's the kind of song you feel you'd stroll up to a Vegas casino to, ready to bet it all on black. It's just so much fun to listen to, you know? I mean, and while McVeigh's vocal range isn't what I would call, broad, it fits the music perfectly, and you couldn't ask for a more suitable and perfect sounding set of pipes for what King Buffalo has set out to achieve here. So I'm a huge fan of Porcupine Tree and Steven Wilson in general, so I want to take a little bit of time with that taken in mind to talk about the album closer, Firmament. Now, listen to the intro to that song. Pause this video, do come back, and then go and listen to it. Okay? You got that in your head? Now go listen to Harmony Korine by Steven Wilson. Yeah. There is some Major League Wilson worship going on here. This feels almost like a stoner rock tribute to one of my favourite songs from Stevie's solo career, and frankly, I am here for it. Unlike songs like Muse's Will of the Fucking People, that felt like blatant rip-offs of someone else's work, Firmament feels like a respectful and admiration-fueled tribute. I mean, I don't know. This may, of course, just be a complete fluke and coincidence. I mean, there's only so many notes in the world, and there's only so many ways to combine all these notes. But it's so eerily similar at the start that I would be hard-pressed to be convinced that this wasn't at least slightly influenced by Steven Wilson. The song does find its own identity, though, and takes you on a, quite frankly, magnificent trip, ending the album on a particularly spicy breakdown that once again reminds me of Porcupine Tree and the song Arriving Somewhere But Not Here. It's a fantastic track, though, and definitely my favourite off the album. So, criticisms. Honestly, I don't really have that many, but I suppose if I had to levy anything that could be construed as negative against Regenerator, it's that it's a little derivative. There's nothing especially original or genre-defining here. It's a very safe and predictable record, especially if you're familiar with this kind of music already. Like I've said, though, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as not every album from every band needs to rewrite the rules on what to expect, Regardless, this is a band that stays firmly within the lines and doesn't really venture outside of them for that long, if they even do at all. But it's an assured and confident record that knows what it is, and it isn't afraid to stick to what it knows. So, what else can I say about Regenerator? This is ultimately a record that does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a spacey, calming, enjoyable record that wears its influences on its sleeve and carries itself with an enviable confidence in its own sound and leaves me wanting to reach for the repeat button over and over. I mean, sure, it's never going to win any awards for pushing the envelope of what to expect from music, but you know what? That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Sometimes you want something comforting, homely and safe. This record is a warm mug of cocoa on a cold night. It's a phone call to your mum who you've not seen in months. It's your favourite meal from a restaurant you used to go to as a kid, and the recipe hasn't changed in 20 years. This is pure comfort, and despite its relative shortcomings in exploration and adventure, I find myself not really caring, as honestly I was enjoying myself far too much to worry about things like that. This is all, of course, my opinion, as you know, so if you've given it a listen, tell me what you thought of this record in the comments down there. Right down there. Oh, yeah. If you've got anything else you've listened to this year you think I should check out, let me know about it, because I'm always enjoying, discovering new things and finding bands I've never heard of before, so hit me up. Let me know what you've got. If you like this video, please do share it with anyone who you think might enjoy it, and as always, it's time for me to beg for subs. Let's do it. Let's go. Get me to 300. Whoop, whoop. Until next time, guys. Keep your rhyme signatures odd.